this is Kurt again from the Kurt's Place channel here on the YouTube. In this video, I'm going to basically explain to you how to navigate through the HyperPin game menu that I could have running on my HyperPin arcade cabinet. This is going to be a video that's going to show you basically how HyperPin works and how you navigate through the various games and things that you have on your tables. What it basically comes down to is the way HyperPin works is it basically has a wheel that's on the bottom of the screen. Okay, there's a wheel right here. What my cabinet does is as you go through the different games, each of the games, as you're going to see, when you go through the different games, you're going to basically have a back glass image, and you're also going to have a playfield image. Now, the one thing you're going to notice about my cabinets is I don't have full video clips and things for the table images. Because of my game needs and everything, I decided that I just wanted that still shots and everything for my games would be fine as far as the game menu goes. If you notice, each one has a back glass image, and there's a still shot image of the playfield on each of the tables that I want to load. And as you can see, basically I just use the flipper buttons that I'm using right here. I have a flipper button on the other side over here I'm using as well. And basically, when I want to navigate through the menus, I just use the flipper buttons, and that takes me to the different games. Now, you're going to notice here when you see me cycling through the different games, you're going to notice that some of the letters and things, there's letters, but there's no game. The reason there's no game with those is I haven't put a game in there yet. That's basically waiting for me to add a game to it. My current table right now that I'm running right now, basically it runs 84 games. I currently have on my table right now. If you go to the HyperPin play videos, you can actually see some of these pinball machines actually playing on my cabinet. This is just going to give you an overview of how the HyperPin wheel works and how to select your games. Okay. Now, as you can see, I was showing you the HyperPin wheel that's right here, and as you can see, as I cycle through the different games, you're going to see it cycles through all my different games. When you set up HyperPin, there's going to be an option in there when you do the HyperPin installation and everything. Each table has a name that goes along with it. With each of the tables, you're going to have a back glass image that goes along with it. You're also going to have a playfield image that goes along with it. Okay, now this is for the HyperPin navigation wheel. You're going to have a back glass image, and you're going to have a playfield image, and you're also going to have a wheel image that's going to go on the wheel that's going to display the name of the game. You can download all those things. If you go to the HyperPin site, they're going to tell you exactly where to download all the images that you need to populate your HyperPin wheel that you see currently running right here. And you're going to see as I go through here, this is what I was telling you about that you're going to have each image is going to have a back glass, you're going to have a playfield image, and then you're also going to have a HyperPin image that goes along with it. And as you're going to see, some of the images I have, like these right here, they're going to get pretty. They can get pretty sophisticated how they look. But you can see, now I'm only using a dual monitor setup. If you're using a 3-monitor setup, you're also probably going to have something in there also to set up the DMD display. I only run 2 monitors, so I don't have to worry about that on my cabinet. But now I'm going to show you how you go about launching a game. Basically, on the HyperPin wheel, the way mine works is I don't have all my buttons yet programmed into my keypads. I don't have everything. I have the flipper buttons, I have the plunger buttons, and everything programmed in there. But I don't have buttons like to select, start the game and things. Those I still do through my keyboard. I'm still working on setting up HyperPin. I've been busy with other projects, so I have it about 90% complete. But I'm still finishing up the rest. I'm going to show you how to launch a game. Basically, what you do is when you come to a game, you win and play. Okay, we'll start it with Medieval Madness. All the games are basically organized in order of letter, just like you do with HyperSpin. HyperPin works the same way. It has all the letters organized in letter format. Basically, you can go up the wheel, you can go down the wheel. When you find a game that you want to launch, you're going to want to hit the start button on your cabinet. Now, it's going to vary depending on how you have your cabinet set up. But on this one, I have the enter button on my keyboard. When you load the game in, what it's going to do is it's going to load the back glass image in, and it's also going to load in the playfield image. Okay? And that basically is how you load a game in the HyperPin. Now, to actually run the HyperPin, I use what's called Visual Pinball. That's what I actually use to run my arcade games. You can run Visual Pinball independently of HyperPin. I usually try to run the Visual Pinball first to make sure that the tables and everything are going to work. When you go to the Visual Pinball site to download your tables, You're going to have several different types of tables you can download. You're going to have the desktop version, which means if you have a screen like a desktop like this and that's all you have, it's going to be a playfield that's going to display, but it's going to look like a desktop. You're going to have a marquee, basically like the marquee's going to be on either side, and then you're going to have the playfield in the middle. That's called the desktop image. If you go to what's known as the full span image, which is what I have here, it's going to be a cabinet that's going to be spanned, and it's going to display it on the glass like you see here. Depending on how your cabinet's set up, it's going to vary how you want to set up your HyperPin as well. You're going to notice that when you set up HyperPin, there's many variations and things you can do. You can do monitor resolutions. You can do all sorts of things. You can do things like how fast the wheel spins. You can do things like the clarity. You can do things on the ball speed, the ball color. You can even do things on the dip switch settings. Do you want to have the menu at startup? How you launch the ball. Many options are going to be available in the HyperPin menu. Now, you're going to also notice that Visual Pinball also has a number of menus that goes along with it. When you set up your Visual Pinball, most of the options, like how you're going to do the ball speed and everything, a lot of this, that's done through Visual Pinball. When you set up HyperPin, you're going to also have things called Hyperglass. There's a thing that now, as far as setting up HyperPin is concerned, there's a lot of forums that will show you how to set up your HyperPin. But the thing to keep in mind is you just want to make sure you have patience when you set it up, because it does take a little while. I'm going to basically show you how I launch a game once I have it loaded in the game. Now, as you can see here, I'm currently running Medieval Madness right now. When I want to launch a game, basically I have the buttons hooked up. My credit button is right here. My start button is right here. Okay. My men will destroy you. Now you're going to notice that the ball's right here. When I want to launch a ball, I actually use my joystick to launch a ball. As you're going to see when I push it forward, that basically launches the ball. And then my flipper buttons are over here. This is where my flipper buttons are on either side of the cabinet. Okay. So that's where my flipper buttons are on either side of the cabinet. Now you're going to notice that on here that I have my backglass image and I have my DMD displays right here. When you want to move these around the playfield, you can actually do that with the mouse. You can move the DMD display from here to the playfield using the mouse. That's going to also be explained on the HyperPin forums on how to use HyperPin. It'll explain exactly how to use the mouse and everything to set up your tables accordingly. Now, on my cabinet, when I want to exit out on my computer, I basically have I use the escape key on my keyboard. And what that will do is it basically will allow me to exit out and bring me back to the main game menu. Now we'll launch the Addams Family next to show you how that works. Okay, let me get out of Medieval Madness first, and then I'm going to show you how we launch another game. Okay. Now, one thing I wanted to mention to you. One of the things I highly suggest doing is, before you install this table into HyperPin, I recommend that you use the Visual Pinball first. Now, there's other emulators that work with this as well, like Future Pinball and quite a few other ones that work with the HyperPin front end. I only use Visual Pinball because that's basically all I've ever needed, and I've been pretty happy with all the Visual Pinball tables that they've had out. So the only thing I've used with mine is Visual Pinball. You can use Future Pinball and a lot of other things. I'm not going to show you this because I don't actually have this installed on my table right now. I only have Visual Pinball. When you exit out of a table, basically you're going to exit out, and it's going to bring you back to the main game menu. Now we're going to basically try to load up. We're going to try. Well, next game we're trying to load. We're going to go ahead and load up the Addams Family to show you how you navigate through the menu. Okay. Now as you can see, I'm back to the main menu. This just gives you an idea of all the tables that I have. Now we're going to load up the Addams Family next, so I can show you how that works. Okay. Here's the Addams Family. Okay. Well, same thing as before. You have a backglass image and you have a table image. When you want to play, you push your start button. That's going to load the game. Going to load the game in, and then you're going to be ready to play. Okay, and then when I want to credit a button up, I push this button for the credits. Right here. Okay, now something I wanted to point out. One of the things that I really like about using Visual Pinball too is the fact that you're going to notice this machine uses the actual ROMs that come with the games. You can download those on the site as well. The nice thing about having the actual ROMs in the game is you're going to get the actual pinball ROMs that come with the game, so all the voices and everything are going to sound exactly like you have when you play the real tables. That's one of the things that I like about having this, is the fact that everything is pretty realistic compared to the real machine when you play this. If you have everything set up right, I can tell. I hardly even notice the difference anymore because I've played this so many times. Now you're going to see like Adam's Family here. Same thing with Adam's Family. This is the start button. Okay, and that basically now I'm basically ready to play. Same thing as before. It launched the ball there, and then that goes along the play field, and then your flipper buttons are over here, just like before. Okay. All right. Now one of the things I'm going to show you in here too is I want to show you how you do a joystick-based game like Baby Pac-Man. That's one of the things I'm going to show you next. Okay, we're going to exit out. Okay. Now we're going to go to Baby Pac-Man. Okay, now this is Baby Pac-Man. Now, Baby Pac-Man uses something. It also has a video display that runs on the back in addition. When you do the configuration and everything to set it up, there's going to be an option in there on how you basically position the video display for when you want to have the video on the back glass. I've got mine set up, but there's going to be a thing that's going to tell you how to do that. Now, from what I understand, I don't know for sure. From what I understand, you are able to use an auxiliary joystick to play Baby Pac-Man outside of the HyperPin cabinet. I don't exactly know how that works, but I actually have mine hooked into my joystick, so I'm going to show you how that works. So basically, I launch a game the same way I had before. I hit my enter button to launch a game. Okay. Now you're going to see on that back glass, you're going to see the video image come up on the back glass. Okay, that's the video image, and then that's the table image. Now, the thing that makes mine unique is, if you'll notice here, there's an actual joystick here that's actually on the playfield. This is actually all. This is all the playfield image. The actual joystick that you use for the games is right here. Now, you'll notice here, if you look at when I advance this, if you'll notice that as I hit the joystick, it actually advances the screen. That's one of the things I was telling you about. When you go to the configuration, like for Baby Pac-Man, there's going to be a utility in there in order that will enable you to link your joystick to your HyperPin cabinet via, basically, I use the Build Your Own Arcade kit from X Arcade, the one I showed you, inside the control panel. That's what I use. Now I'm going to show you how this works. When you start a game as you normally would. But the difference now is the joystick that I have right here. Now if you look on the screen, this will actually control, you see where I'm at on the screen here, this will actually control the actual game when I'm playing, and now I'm basically on the pinball. That basically works the same as it would with any of the other games. You have your pinball here, and then you're going to notice when the ball drains, then you're back to your image. Now you're going to see here on here that I can actually control where I'm going with the joystick. Okay? And that's basically how Baby Pac-Man works. There's one other thing that I want to show you here too, as far as how HyperPin works. Let me go and show you the next thing too. Let me exit out of the Baby Pac-Man. I'm going to show you another nice option too. Okay, now as you can see, I exited out of HyperPin. Now you're going to notice that in addition to this too, that there's games like Xenon and things like that I have. Now, some of the games you're going to find that the back glass images and things, you're going to sometimes on some of the tables have to set up the back glass images separately, differently depending on the game. I find the easiest ones to set up are the ones that have the DMD displays like Whirlwind and those type of things. Because one of the things you're going to notice, let me show you Arabian Nights to show you what I'm talking about so you get an idea. You can see all the tables I have in here. There's quite a few. Okay, so we're going to load up Tales of the Arabian Nights. That's going to be the next one. Okay, what I wanted to point out to you is, you'll notice in the screen here that the DMD display that I have here, one of the nice things about having a monitor set up like this is I can adjust, I can make this smaller or I can make this larger. I can make it wider, I can make it shorter. You basically have the option using your mouse to basically navigate your mouse, you can move this left or right, up and down, this display, depending on where you want to have this dot matrix display at. Now, that's one of the things that makes it really nice about having a two-monitor system like this is, for me, it allows me more versatility because some games I want to have a larger dot matrix display, some I want to have a smaller display. Now, the one thing you're going to notice when you play HyperPin, some of the games, even though the games are done really, really well, occasionally you're going to have a ball that might hang up and things like that. Now, if that happens on this, what you basically do if that happens is you hit your escape button, then you just reload the table again, and then basically it'll reset everything to default, and then you're ready to play again. Now, the last thing I want to show you is when you want to exit HyperPin, how you exit HyperPin. Okay. Now, if you remember, I showed you how you exit out of a game. You hit the escape button, and that brings you back to the main menu. Okay, and then you can exit out. Now, one of the things that's really nice about HyperPin is when you're in the game, depending how you want to set up your cabinet, you can have an escape button programmed in where when you hit the button, you're going to basically have a menu that comes up like this. And what that is you're going to notice that there's back, exit, and shut down. You can actually shut down your PC from here using the option that you want to use. Now, I'm not going to shut down the PC right now because I want to show you what it looks like. But you can actually exit. If you hit exit, it'll exit out of that and basically take it back to the main game screen.